Please be seated. Good afternoon. President DeJoya, Dean Thomas, Mr. King, Chancellor Henderson, Secretary Quinn, Registrar Pierce, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, members of the graduating class, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2013 commencement exercises of Georgetown University. I am Paul Almeida, Senior Associate Dean of Executive Education at the McDonough School of Business. Today, we assemble to honor the candidates for the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. We will begin our ceremony with the singing of My Country, 'Tis of Thee, followed by the invocation delivered by Reverend Raymond Kemp, Senior Research Fellow, Department of Theology. Following the invocation, Dean David A. Thomas will offer welcoming remarks, and Professor Douglas McCabe will introduce the official reading of the university charter. Please stand for the singing of My Country, 'Tis of Thee, which will be led by members of the Amadon Bowen Elementary School Concert Choir. Please remain standing for the invocation.
The prophet Isaiah prays, "Rouse your power and come." The poet Langston urges us, "Hold fast to dreams." We invoke your presence and blessing this day on those who have long dreamed and worked on a deeper and deeper bond between this university and this city. We here know how much we have to give and to receive from each other, and how fruitful this union of town and gown really is. A chancellor and a president, a mayor and a dean, a community of school leaders, connecting with a very special servant faculty and leader, have worked to create a harvest of abundance. And this family that can laugh now at that long loneliness, which is overcome in the building of a community that loves to learn. We know afresh the meaning of your kind of arousal. It's an inside joke, and we love it. Step by step, we find our way to our deepest desires, all the while building an ever stronger competence and confidence. The blessing we invoke here on these proceedings includes our thanksgiving for coming to know one another and learning the world of reflection, research, communication, and new ideas. We join this afternoon in solidarity with the world-honoring Madiba, who taught us the strength of holding fast to the work of defeating ignorance and fear and building a new way of reconciliation and of healing. For the glory of God and for the good of us all, can I get an amen?
Amen.
Thank you, Father Kemp. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, graduates, family, and friends, it is my honor and pleasure as the Dean of the McDonough School of Business to welcome you to this inaugural commencement of the Executive Masters in Leadership program for the District of Columbia Public Schools. I had some remarks prepared for me to deliver today, but I spent the few hours just before this commencement just sort of thinking about what my own thoughts were about this moment. So I apologize if my brief remarks are not eloquent, but these are my reflections about where we are today. And it starts with a recognition on my part that our presence here today is the manifestation of what is possible when a university, business school, and its community partner to address the most important challenges and opportunities facing business and society. And there can be no doubt that chief among the challenges and opportunities facing business and society is the education of every child to be a productive and participating member of our global economy. Meeting that challenge, seizing that opportunity requires transformational leadership. I'm in my third year as Dean of the McDonough School of Business. And in my first year, I had to do something called the State of the Union Address. And that address, or the need to prepare that address, made me to think about what are we doing here at the McDonough School of Business. And I believe that what we're doing is preparing leaders to address those most important challenges and opportunities facing business and society. And my mantra when I gave that speech was, we are transforming ourselves to transform the world. That is our collective project, to transform ourselves to transform the world. And this program, this project that we've all been involved in these last 12 months, in my view, is one manifestation that we at the McDonough School of Business have taken one giant step toward that goal. This program, in my view, and your participation in it was part of a giant step toward the goal of this school being part of attempting to transform the world. So my hope is that your experience over the last 12 months has in some way brought you to see yourself and your ability to make a difference in new ways, that enable your work as a transformational leader. I want to end by thanking you, our soon-to-be alumni, for being our partners in this journey. Today, I truly believe that we make history, and I believe that our collective efforts will make a transformative difference. And again, I thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Our founder, Archbishop John Carroll of Baltimore, took legal possession of the land on this hilltop in which Georgetown is built in 1789, and we mark that as our founding date. Our first student, the future North Carolina Congressman William Gaston, arrived in 1791, and our first bachelor's degrees were not awarded until 1817. The Jesuits who founded us labored at that moment under a cloud of papal suppression, not fully removed until Pope Pius VII restored the order in 1814. That year, 1814, also saw the British invasion of Washington as part of the so-called War of 1812, and for a time the college lived in great fear that it would be overrun. But we escaped and thrived. It was in 1815 that, with enrollments passing the 100 mark, the college presidents, Father John Grassi of the Society of Jesus, asked then Congressman Gaston to present a petition for a federal charter, a document that still today sanctions the academic business we do. Accordingly, it is our custom to initiate academic ceremonies with a reading of the charter from the year 1815. To discharge that office, I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Edward M. Quinn, Secretary of the University.
An act concerning the College of Georgetown within the District of Columbia. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that it shall and may be lawful for such persons as now are, or from time to time may be, the President and the Directors of the College of Georgetown within the District of Columbia, to admit any of the students belonging to said college or other persons meriting academical honors to any degree in the faculties, arts, sciences, and liberal professions to which persons are usually admitted in other colleges and universities of the United States, and to issue in an appropriate form the diplomas or certificates which may be requisite to testify to the admission of such degree. Signed, Langdon Shivas, Speaker of the House of Representatives, John Gaillard, President pro tempore of the Senate. Approved March 1st, 1815, James Madison.
Dear principals, it seems like it was just yesterday when we were welcoming you to our university and to the Executive Masters in Leadership program. And in what seems to me, but perhaps not to you, in a blink of an eye, you have successfully and even inspirationally completed this program. Georgetown is, of course, a wonderful university. Look around you at this magnificent hall. It embodies the history of Jesuit education, and I sense, whenever I am here, the atmosphere of learning. Yet, our university is hardly defined by our buildings or even our programs, however great they may be. We are defined by you, our students, and soon-to-be alumni, by what you do in the world and by how you do it. We know you do great things in the face of numerous challenges. Your mission is a noble one, and we know that you are determined to succeed. It has been our privilege to spend this time with you, to form bonds with you, and indirectly, through you, to reach out to the thousands of DC children who will leave their mark on society for many, many years to come. You have taught us as much as we have taught you. The program may last just 1 year, but because of your dedication, your sacrifice, your enthusiasm, it will bear fruit for our community for many years to come. We at Georgetown are proud to be a part of your cause. I want you to know that. I also want to remind you that it doesn't end here. No more papers, I promise you. We are now your home, so keep coming home. Just like my children do, come home not to ask for money, but come home to share your joys and your sorrows, your challenges and your victories. We are a part of you and you of us. We are all Hoyers together, forever. As you know, and I'm sure you appreciate, at the core of any degree program is the academic content. Great programs need great teachers and great directors. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our program's academic director, who is responsible for the curriculum and actually much more. He's the heart and soul of EML, Professor Robert Bees.
Thank you. You do almighty work. From the inspiring youth program at DC's Correctional Detention Facility to a school without walls. In elementary schools, middle schools, educational campuses, senior high schools, alternative high schools, and in central office. From southeast to northwest, from southwest to northeast, you do almighty work. This year has been quite a journey for you. From the Airlie Center to the Bolger Center to Wye River, with those 14 courses and all those reflective papers that each of the faculty required you to write, I promised you that this program would be intense and intensive. And I'm pretty sure we delivered on that promise. I should tell you, there's a few people from the second cohort sitting out here today, celebrating in joy with you, but also I think maybe envisioning sitting down these first 2 rows a year from today. But you also delivered. Not only did you write some of the best, and I mean the best, papers that I've ever read, and I've been grading papers for a while, you also took the skills and tools that you acquired to create positive change within DCPS, and you did this outside of the classroom on your own time. In small groups and as a whole class, you created proposals for the Chancellor and her leadership team for a new collaborative process of committees and boards to more fully incorporate your feedback and your wisdom in all aspects of schools' operations for improvements and innovations. You broke down the walls and built bridges between the schools and central office. And it was all done for children like this and children within DCPS. What you did, from my perspective, was simply amazing, even heroic, and should be a role model for all other public school districts in this country. But what has been most moving and inspiring to me has been watching you in action during my visits to your schools. It is stunning to me. You know the name of every student. And I mean every student. You live out that Jesuit value of cura personalis, care for the whole person. You know where each child comes from. You know their histories, and you know their families. You do not view them as statistics, even though their test scores do impact you. You see young people, like these young people, with gifts and talents, even among those who face some of life's most difficult challenges. Your commitment to them to improve their life opportunities is a true measure of your character. Your courage, and dare I say, your love for these students. You do almighty work. You asked me about my hopes for you as a result of this program, and I said my deepest hope was to see more empowered leaders, people who will be bolder, take more risks while being strategic in doing so. Not be afraid to fail, to make excellent mistakes, and to learn from them, to stand up, but never stand alone. In watching your transformations this year, my hopes have been fulfilled for all of you. And while we are all still works in progress, none of you are developing. You do almighty work. If I could close out my comments with a movie clip and a piece of sage wisdom, this is how I do it. The lights would dim in Gaston, a screen would come down in the back, and on the screen would be a clip from the movie Rocky. It is a scene where Rocky Balboa leaves his house, begins his run through the streets of Philadelphia with the Bill Conti theme song, You're Gonna Fly Now, playing in the background. You would see Rocky running through the streets of South Philadelphia in the Italian market, along the Schuylkill River, through Center City, down the Parkway, and up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And that's where you will be soon, at the top of the steps, not in Philadelphia, but here on the stage of Gaston Hall. For the sage wisdom, it would be the words of Francis of Assisi, words which are engraved on a paperweight designed by my wife Susan, which you will receive on the way off the stage, okay? And the sage wisdom is this: start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. You do almighty work. Your greatness lies ahead of you and within you. May the force be with you.
Thank you, Professor Bees. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce our student speaker, who was nominated by her classmates, Principal Vielka Scott Marcus, who runs the Payne Elementary School located in Southeast Washington, D.C. Welcome.
Good afternoon. In recognition of the innovative thinking and dream of our Chancellor and Georgetown alumni, Dr. Kaya Henderson, Georgetown President John DeGioia, Dean David Thomas of the McDonough School of Business, and each of our illustrious professors, we pause to say thank you for this esteemed opportunity you thought to establish and execute with precision, attention, and care for the participants of the Executive Masters in Leadership First Cohort. 10 months ago, we embarked on this journey as mere acquaintances and colleagues working for the same DC government agency, the majority of us in local schools throughout the district, and our soldier from the central office. We came with our preconceived notions, judging, questioning, and anticipating the unexpected. However, during our first residency at the Airlie Center, we were immediately embraced as elite students of the Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. We were graciously familiarized with the school's history and came to understand the relevance behind Hoya Saxa. During our time there, Dean Thomas further solidified our thought process in sharing that those who have risk aversion will live an average life at best, and we are no average group of leaders. Chancellor Henderson charged us to be the example for the District of Columbia, showing the nation's capital that DCPS leaders are destined for greatness. We are the first 25. We are the first cohort of EML leaders for DCPS. Class after class, paper after paper with a 25-page limit, we forged through, learning valuable pearls of wisdom to cultivate, fortify, and challenge our role as leaders in various aspects of life. Professors like Dr. Robert Bees saturated our minds and reached into our souls with timely doses of sage wisdom and a host of phenomenal movie clips. Some of our favorite moments of sage wisdom have been to agonize or organize, trust but verify, with the understanding that there are those that look at things the way they are and ask why. But he challenged us to dream of things that never were and ask why not. Robert F. Kennedy. And life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others? Dr. Martin Luther King. During our Power of Negotiations class with Dr. Douglas McCabe, we learned the power and skill of negotiating, and we immediately put learning into practice as we transitioned through the DCPS budget process for fiscal year 2014. Dr. Janine Turner taught us the art of listening and the power of persuasion with only 2 minutes at your disposal, and how to communicate your intended message with no more than 140 characters. And Professor Walker allowed us to search within as we completed our leadership profile inventories. Professor John Fontana reminded us to always notice the patterns, see emotions as data, lean into the tension, just play with it a little and don't be afraid of the outcome. Through our mid-residency at the Bolger Center, we were rejuvenated and revitalized in the continuation of reaffirming our leadership goals. We learned how to trust our fears, understanding that there is only one thing that makes achieving dreams impossible, and that is the fear of failure. Professor Shapiro taught us the usefulness of telling your story through the creativity of storytelling. We were reaffirmed as cage-busting leaders and encouraged to rely on the inner strength we possess as we participated in the technique of meditation, some of us dreaming. The Adventures of Johnny Bunko provided us with 6 essential lessons for thriving as DCPS leaders, and we came up with our own, stay hungry, as a 7th principle. Our souls were replenished with the shared word from Reverend Matthew Watley, another Georgetown alumni, executive minister of the Reed Temple AME Church. We returned to our respective schools from the mid-residency with a rekindled sense of purpose and energy. We were reminded of our resilience. We were renewed and revived. Finally, just before leaving for our final residency, we received an email from Ben, yes, our Ben, indicating that all assignments were due no later than November 22nd. And to top it off, Thursday, we all received a FedEx package with our cap, gown, hood, and tassel. It was real. We reached out in support of one another through Facebook, Twitter, and email. We were determined to finish as a cohesive unit. Then on Friday, November 22nd, we arrived at the picturesque Wye River Conference Center for our final residency. And this is where our individual experiences fully meshed. Dr. Wilder reasserted the power within a story and that it was okay to be vulnerable. Father Kemp rejuvenated our hearts with his comical spirit exuded in his faith. Jim Sandman told us that good people finish first. And then it was our turn to be vulnerable in the individual sharing of our This I Believe stories. We were moved by stories that caused us to cry, laugh out loud, organize, and wonder. Today, we leave as friends who have formed a bond through the knowledge we have gained and the communities we continue to serve as a result of our newfound enlightenment in leadership and our commitment as not just principals, but as community activists. And as reminded by Cesar Chavez, it is possible to become discouraged about the injustice we see everywhere, but God did not promise us that the world would be humane and just. He gives us the gift of life and allows us to choose the way we will use our limited time on earth. It is an awesome opportunity. So as we leave this ceremony today, again, I am humbled to have been selected as the class commencement student speaker and remind you to stand up, but never stand alone. And at this time, we would like to ask Dr. Douglas McCabe to come to the front of the stage as we present him with the favorite faculty gift.
Thank you, Vielka, and congratulations, Professor McCabe. It is now my honor to welcome one of Georgetown's most distinguished alumni and your worthy leader, Chancellor Kaya Henderson, to address the audience. Welcome, Kaya.
Have you ever had a dream come true? Have you ever had a dream come absolutely true? That's what today is for me. Today is a dream come true. Not more than, I guess, 2 years ago, I went to President DeGioia and he said, what can we do to support you in your chancellorship? And I said, I want a leadership program for my principals. And so today, to see you all, I said I wasn't gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. To see you all in Gaston Hall, looking gorgeous as ever, but more than that, to see you empowered, to see you transformed, to see you ready to go out and turn this entire city upside down is my absolute dream come true. I want to say thank you because there are so many people here who made this possible. First, thank you to Dean DeGioia. He was Dean DeGioia when I was here, to President DeGioia for helping to make this possible, for all of the faculty, to my partner in crime, Bob Beast, who sat with me at Quigley's, and I said, look, we can make history, and he said, come on, let's make history. And that's what we're doing today. To all of the faculty, to the DCPS community, to families and friends who supported them while they were going through this grueling experience, thank you, because you have been part of creating not just a set of transformational leaders, but an institution. This is an institution that is not just going to change children's lives in DC public schools. It's not just going to change the city, Mayor Gray. It's not just going to change this institution, but it's going to change the world. This week we lost Nelson Mandela, and one of my friends said to me, I'm very melancholy because we don't create leaders like Nelson Mandela anymore. And I said, oh, but you're wrong. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be with 25 of them. That's the expectation of you. You thought you came to principal a DCPS school, but in fact, you are called to do much more. We don't know what it is, but I pray that you would be obedient to your call, that you would take your power, to take your passion, and to turn this world around. It's the expectation of you. And what I want you all to know is that we will be behind you every step of the way. Leadership is lonely, leadership is difficult, but you all have exactly what it takes to be the next set of Nelson Mandelas. I'm proud of you and I love you.
Wow. That was truly wonderful. It is now my privilege to welcome again the Amadon Bowen Elementary Concert Choir, who will perform Just Imagine and Put a Little Love in Your Heart. Following the musical selection, Dean Thomas will introduce the commencement speaker.
Well, let me begin my remarks by thanking the choir for those beautiful numbers. And if someone asks you guys today how you spent your day, tell them we went and rocked Georgetown. Because I've been to Gaston Hall many times, but I haven't seen it rock like you guys rocked it. Okay. It's now my pleasure and honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Tim King, who has devoted his career to transforming the lives of young men through education. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Urban Prep Academies, a nonprofit organization that operates a network of public college prep boys schools in Chicago, college prep boys schools in Chicago, including the nation's first all-male charter high school and related programs aimed at promoting college success. The organization's motto is "We Believe." They translate that into dedication to the success of their students. Since Mr. King founded Urban Prep in 2002, 100% of its all African American males and mostly from low-income family students have been admitted to four-year colleges and universities. Both President Nothing beats 100%, right? Both President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama have recognized Mr. King for his work with youth. He also has been named the ABC World News Person of the Week, Chicago Magazine's Chicagoan of the Year, People Magazine's Hero of the Year, and is listed in Ebony Magazine's Power 100. A member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, Mr. King has completed postgraduate work in Kenya and Italy. A proud Hoya graduate, he holds both a Bachelor's of Foreign Service and a Juris Doctor's degree from Georgetown. Mr. King also was awarded an honorary doctorate from the Adler School. Additionally, he serves as a lecturer at Northwestern University. Mr. King, thank you for serving as a shining example of transformational leadership and service. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Tim King.
Thank you very much. I have to first off say that I got in a little bit of a trick bag here. There are several things you're never supposed to do. One of them is follow kids when you give a speech, particularly incredibly talented young people like those who sang for us. Let's give them another round of applause. Another thing that happened was I was told that I was invited to give this speech, and I happily agreed, and then I was told that I had to do it in 10 minutes, and that I had to give a speech that was, what did you say, Dean Thomas, that was exceptional, transformational, that was one of a kind, that was worthy of these. In 10 minutes, I can't even give you my opening jokes in 10 minutes. I appreciate being here, Dean Thomas. I appreciate that welcome. I appreciate Chancellor Henderson, you inviting me here. I was Chancellor Henderson's big brother when she was a freshman and I was a senior at Georgetown. And as you can see, I done good. I am also grateful to President DeGioia, who ever since he was Dean DeGioia, and I was an undergraduate here at Georgetown, he has been a staunch advocate, not just of my work and the things I wanted to do here on the Hilltop, but also he's just been an advocate for justice and truth and goodness and the right thing. Please join me in applauding our president, Jack DeGioia. So none of that counts in my 10 minutes, by the way. I'll just keep it real. I'm going to be more than 10 minutes. I'm going to try really hard, but I'm going to be more than 10 minutes. And the reason I'm going to be more than 10 minutes has a little bit to do with the story that I'm about to tell you. I was working with a student who had to give us a talk before a speech. I was working with him before he had to give his speech. And I asked him if he had the speech written down. And he looked at me and he said, "No, Mr. King, I'm going to do it a cappella." Just like that. And, he meant he was going to do it extemporaneously, of course. And I said, "No, brother, you're going to write this down. We don't have time for this a cappella stuff. Come on, let's write it down." So the reason I'm going to be longer than 10 minutes isn't because I wrote down a 10-minute speech, which I did, but because I'm going to do it a little bit a cappella, and I hope you're okay with that. What can I tell you? You are leaders. You have gone through this and other programs. You've earned degrees. What can I tell you? Not much. In fact, everything I can tell you, I think you already know. So I will simply tell you a couple stories. The first one has to do with the founding of Urban Prep. I remember very vividly wanting to start this school for African American males who were and continue to be, in my opinion, in a state of crisis. I remember spending a year working on this proposal. I remember going to Kinko's and copying pages. I remember researching. I remember going around asking people for funding so we could start this school. I remember sitting around my parents' kitchen table with my mom, a career educator, my father, an entrepreneur, and my brother, also a Hoya, sitting around the table, working with them on this proposal, putting together these 1,000 pages that would be the proposal we submitted. I remember that. I remember believing. I remember being asked when we submitted that proposal why we thought our team should open this school. And I told them all the reasons why we were prepared to do what we wanted to do. And I remember a little while after that receiving a letter telling me that we'd been rejected. And still, I believed. I remember spending another year, more trips to Kinko's, more time around that kitchen table, more pages, more interviews, more requests for funding. I remember believing. And I remember standing in front of those people and presenting our proposal, my dream, to them to start the country's first all-male charter public high school. I remember believing. And I remember a little while after that receiving another letter that told me our second proposal had been rejected as well. I remember being angry. I remember being frustrated. I remember being disillusioned. I remember that I stopped believing. But I also remember a dear friend of mine who called me up on the phone, and she had walked with me on this journey to start Urban Prep. And she said, "So when do we submit our third proposal?" And I said, "We don't. I am not going to do this again. I refuse to put my heart, my soul, my life on the line again, only to be turned down." She let me rant and rave for a good hour, no joke, on the telephone. And then when I was finally yelled out and there was a lull, she said, "Tim, what is the Urban Prep motto?" You see, even though we didn't have a school, we had created everything about the school. We had created a curriculum. We had created a student activities program. We had created a discipline code. We had created a brochure that had pictures of students from other schools. We had created everything, including a motto. She asked Tim, "What is the urban prep motto?" And I paused. And I said, "The urban prep motto is, we believe." And she said, "Well, Tim, either you do or you don't. Either you do or you don't." The decision I made to believe those few years ago has allowed me to join you today. I am here to remind you, not tell you, because you know this. I'm here to remind you how a belief in a crazy idea to lead a school, to start a school, to be a school leader can grow into a vehicle of education reform and change across our city and country. I'm here to tell you, to remind you how believing in 100% college acceptance for a group of black boys has transformed itself into hopes and dreams for entire communities. I'm here to tell you, no, I'm here to remind you that in order to change the world, we must always believe, because either you do or you don't. But believing isn't all we have to do. We also must have the strength, fortitude, and courage to act on those beliefs. We must inspire, challenge, and sacrifice, and in doing so, we must lead. I'm not a big hip-hop fan, but there is this line in a Drake song that I love. I'm the type to say a prayer and then go get what I just prayed for. I'm the type to say a prayer, then go get what I just prayed for. We can't just sit around and hope for something to change. We can't just believe in change and think it's just gonna happen while we wait for it. We have to get up after we pray for change and make the change occur. We have to create the change. We have to be the change, because either you do or you don't. When we started Urban Prep, there was this 15-year-old boy named Mr. Branch. We refer to all of our students by their last names as a sign of respect. We feel it is important that in order for them to respect themselves and each other, we respect them, and so we refer to them as Sir and Mr. So there was this young man named Mr. Branch. He didn't want to come to Urban Prep. He wasn't interested in being in an all-male school. He wasn't interested in being in school for 2 hours longer than a traditional school in the city. He wasn't interested in wearing a jacket and tie every day. And so this student did everything he could to get out of our school. He started fights, he cut class, he wouldn't do his work. Mr. Branch had made his decision, his choice. He wanted out. And eventually he got his wish. His mom came into the school and asked us if she could transfer him because she couldn't deal any longer with our calling her and him stressing her out at home. And so she transferred him. And he went to another school. At this new school, people weren't hassling him to hit the books. In fact, they didn't seem to care if he even knew how to read. They weren't telling him to pull up his pants or straighten his tie or tuck in his shirt. In fact, they didn't seem to care how he looked. They weren't telling him to live honestly, honorably, and nonviolently as the Urban Prep Creed instructs. In fact, they didn't seem to care how he chose to live his life. A few months after Mr. Branch left Urban Prep, we noticed something weird. He was turning up on our campus at events. We'd see him sitting with his former classmates at football or basketball games. He'd be hanging outside on our campus at dismissal. Once, we found Mr. Branch inside a classroom during school. And when we asked him what he was doing there, he said, I get out of school at 2, and you all don't get out till 4:30, so I thought I'd just come here and chill with my brothers. You see, he had gotten his wish. He wanted to be out, away. But now he wished for, he longed for something different. When he finally got up the courage to ask if he could transfer back to urban prep, we said yes. We chose to say yes to him because we don't believe in throwing kids away, even those who think they want to be discarded. A year later, now I'm gonna go a little a cappella. I know I'm way over my 10 minutes, but here we go. So you all know how when you have visitors come, you get everything nice and together, right? So we have a lot of visitors at Urban Prep. They come from all over the place to see what we're doing at our 3 campuses. And on one particular day, we had a group of visitors who came from England. And I was really frantic because, the English, they talk like they're really smart, so you gotta make sure you're together, right? So we had the route together. They were gonna walk in this door, we were gonna have them see this person, these 2 classrooms, they were gonna go here. You're school leaders, you know how this works, right? You know what you do when Chancellor Henderson comes into your school. So we have these visitors from England, and everything's going well, and then we get them into the room to do the debrief, and we had a couple very specifically selected students, some teachers, in this room. And one of the visitors raises her hand, and she asks, if the students could describe some of their most significant experiences while at Urban Prep. And all of a sudden I hear, I can answer that. And I look up, somebody said it. It's Mr. Branch. Oh, Lord. He wasn't supposed to be in here. Well, I was on pins and needles. And he answered that question. And I don't know why I was nervous. Because he told his story. And he told this group of visiting educators, with tears streaming down his face, he told them, his words, not mine, he told them that if he had stayed at that other school, he would be dead by the time he was 18. He told them that, in fact, at that other school, he was dying a little bit each and every day. Mr. Branch recently celebrated his 21st birthday, and he's now a senior at Fisk University. I tell Mr. Branch's story often, and I tell you his story today, not because it is unique. It's not. You know it's not. His story is not any more remarkable than another young man at Urban Prep who, for a period, was homeless and would do his homework on the floor in the shelter's bathroom because it was the only place that had lights on after 10 o'clock. He graduated from Urban Prep as valedictorian and came to Georgetown University. Mr. Branch's story is no more remarkable than that of Mr. Williams, who, as an 8th grader, committed to attend urban prep, even though there was no urban prep yet. He said, Mr. King, I want to be in the first class. I know you don't have a school. I know you don't have a building. I know you don't have teachers. But I want to be there. Mr. Williams is sitting in this room right now. He's a senior at Georgetown University and will join us as graduates in May. These stories are no more remarkable than the stories of your students in your schools. The students at Ballou and Jefferson and Tubman and Anacostia, or any of the schools or programs that you lead, that you represent, their stories are no different. These are stories of young people living in a world where everywhere they look, they are being told that they are worthless, that they are failures, that they are threats. Everywhere, people don't believe in them. Well, I say they may be boys and girls in the hood, but that doesn't mean that they can't also be boys and girls doing good. They just need us, all of us, to show them the way. And we can show them. We must show them. We are not here to change one life. We are here to change countless. We are not here to change one mind. We are here to change the mind that will change the mind that will change the world. Our work can be tireless, and our work can seem thankless, but our work is never, ever pointless. I know that as school leaders, we often don't see the results of our efforts, of our sacrifices, because the real outcomes often happen in a distant future when our babies grow up. We are digging wells from which we will never drink. We are planting trees whose fruit we will never taste. We are building ladders to the stars that we will never climb. But that's okay, because our work is not for us. Our leadership is not for us. Our schools are not for us. All we do, all of it, is for the children. And what we do for them will change the world. The sky is not the limit. How can it be when there are footprints on the moon? This is what happens when we believe. And either you do or you don't. Congratulations, graduates. Thank you. Thank you very much. The last time I was up on this stage and got applause like that was when I was hypnotized by Tom DeLuca as a senior 25 years ago and was up here clucking like a chicken. So I'm glad I got it for a different reason this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King, for that inspirational speech and for being a model of the kind of leaders that we are trying to produce here. We'd just like to present you with a small token of our appreciation for coming here and also for the work you do and for making us proud that you are double Hoya.
Oh, thanks.
Before we begin the presentation of the candidates for degree, I would like to recognize the contributions made by the faculty and staff who are my diligent partners here at the McDonough School of Business. As students, each of you has studied with, been challenged by, and sought counsel from many of our faculty members and staff. I therefore ask you to join me in expressing appreciation to your teachers and administrators, and I would ask the administrators and staff of the McDonough School of Business to please stand. Thank you. We will now proceed to the presentation of candidates for the degree. The graduates will come forward to receive their diplomas. Please hold your applause until all graduates have received their diplomas. President DeGioia, President DeGioia, as Dean of the McDonough School of Business, it is my honor to present the following graduates for the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. Senior Associate Dean Almeida, please prepare to announce the EML DCPS program graduates. Will Professor McCabe come forward to hood the graduates? As well, Chancellor. Okay. And the graduates should stand and wait for their names to be called.
As Senior Associate Dean of Executive Degree Programs, I'm proud to call forth the following Executive Masters in Leadership graduates. Ruckman Branch, Winston Cox, Hillary Derelick, Janice Dokal, Tracy Foster, Natalie Gordon, Gwendolyn Grandison Payton, Mary Ann Green Stinson, Harry Hughes, Clarence Edward Humes Jr., Ricky Hunt Taylor, Kim Jackson, Sansere Lee. Dale Mann. Isabella Miller. Michael Maas. Dana Narenberg. Grace Reed. Tui Roper. Vielka Scott Marcus. Kwame Simmons. Darren Slade. Azalea Spate. Richard Trogish. And Ian Andre Roberts.
Will the candidates please rise? President DeGioia, these candidates have been duly examined by the faculty and approved by the Board of Directors. I therefore ask that you bestow on them the degree in course.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Congress of the United States and by the Board of Directors of Georgetown University, I officially confer upon these candidates the degree of Executive Masters in Leadership. Congratulations.
Before I bid the graduates what I hope is only a temporary goodbye from the hilltop, I would like to recognize the parents, spouses, children, relatives, and friends of the graduates who have provided their students and the school with such valuable support in so many ways. You are as much a part of the Georgetown family as your sons and daughters, husbands and wives. We honor and thank you. Graduates, please stand and join me in offering our heartfelt thanks to your family and friends. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present the 48th President of Georgetown University, Dr. John J. DeGioia, who will deliver closing reflections. Dr. DeGioia.
Well, I begin this afternoon in gratitude. First, I wish to express our appreciation to Tim King for sharing his experience and insights with us today and to helping to make this very special day that much more special by his presence. Tim, it's always great to welcome you back to campus, and thank you for being a part of this special occasion today. I'd also like to express our appreciation to Chancellor Kaya Henderson for her vision, for her partnership, for her trust and confidence in Georgetown, and believing that this Executive Masters in Leadership program could be possible and would be of value to you all. I wish to express our appreciation to Mayor Vincent Gray. Mayor Gray, it's always a pleasure to have you on the Hilltop, and especially as we celebrate these extraordinary women and men this afternoon. And I'd like to thank one of our transformational leaders here at Georgetown, who's responsible for creating a context for the development of transformational leaders, and that is the Dean of the McDonough School of Business, David Thomas. And to two of his colleagues who've done so much to realize this vision, and that is the Senior Associate Dean, Paul Almeida, and Professor Robert Bees, for their exceptional leadership. And of course, finally, to all of today's graduates, congratulations. You've worked extremely hard. You've put in countless hours. We're grateful to you for the trust and confidence in us, and we're very proud to count you as members of our Georgetown family. We are deeply grateful for the many contributions you've made, both to Georgetown and to our city, for your commitment to personal and professional excellence. Your contributions have helped to make both our city, but also our university, better and stronger. You represent the difference which we seek to make in the world beyond our university. As members of our graduate community, you came to Georgetown after already achieving high levels of excellence in your careers. You came here as leaders and as educators, as accomplished public servants, working on behalf of our city's young people. You came here after reflecting on your past experience and your aspirations with the hope of achieving the depth of knowledge required to align your most authentic selves with the path that you envision for your future. While I hope that Georgetown will always be another home for you, we come together at this commencement today to celebrate all that you will bring forward to your students, to your schools, to this city, to the communities that you will serve. The future that we celebrate holds great promise that by exercising your unique talents and skills with your character and your integrity, you will contribute to and help us all realize in ever deeper ways the common good. This is work in which you've already shown a deep and lasting commitment throughout your service to our city and to our young people. There can be no higher calling
than to have a vocation that asks you to contribute to the common good. The common good is the idea that together we can do things that none of us could ever do alone, and that there are some things that can only be done through our shared efforts. Without these shared efforts, we would never be able to achieve our goals. And education, the formation of our young people, requires a commitment to the common good. It is a concept that is foundational to the work you've been engaged in here at Georgetown, as we as a university seek knowledge for the betterment of humankind. And it's also foundational to the careers in which you have dedicated your lives. Georgetown's the oldest Catholic and Jesuit university in the United States, but we're part of an even older tradition, going back nearly 450 years. It's one of the it's the oldest and largest system of learning. And at different points in time over these last 5 centuries, there's been nothing quite like it in our world. When he was drafting the foundational documents that established the religious order that served as the foundation for everything that's ever happened here, St. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, concluded his foundational document with these words, that we do all of this for the greater glory of God and the common good. And our work here at the university has been an effort to try to realize that, and your presence here is, you bring alive the effort we have to realize this vision that is nearly 5 centuries old. But it's never been more alive than it is in this moment, in this hall, on this afternoon. A commitment to the common good defines your work as educators. It acknowledges that there is truth to be discovered and good to be realized when we engage in our work and the work of education together. So I invite you to see this moment of commencement as a moment in which you renew your commitment and your contribution to the common good. We call this commencement. This is a moment of beginnings when you can trust in all that you have pursued professionally and all that you have studied and contemplated in the EML program. And it's a time when you can take all of that hard work, all of your experience, all of your extraordinary dedication, and translate that into a new directive for the future. This directive is one, to be sure, that is driven by the ethos, the characteristic spirit of your chosen work of education and service. And it is one that must be animated by your character, your personal and enduring commitment to the common good. And looking out on you this afternoon, I am inspired by all that I know that you will accomplish and contribute to this great city in which we all live, to its students in this spirit. It is a privilege for all of us here to share this moment with you and to again offer our most sincere congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President DeGioia, and thank you all for joining us today, and congratulations once more to our graduates. We wish you well in all your endeavors and welcome you as permanent members of the Georgetown family. Please stand for the benediction, which will be offered by Father Kemp.
Counting our blessings, gracious God, we want to thank you and all those who've made this happen. Grace these graduates to be a blessing themselves for our schools and for our students. The work of building a better system of schools is not an idle wish or a matter of chance, but the daily work of contemplatives in action. Pray we stay faithful as you are faithful, and bless these good and gracious graduates with a radiance that comes from a power that you have stirred within. Peace and strength is the blessing we pray. Peace and strength be upon us. Amen. Amen.
Will the guests please remain standing at their places until the faculty and graduates have recessed? You are all invited to join us for a reception in the Riggs Library. The ushers will direct you to the reception. Before we close, I want to thank our wonderful choir for enhancing our ceremony. The 2013 Executive Masters in Leadership Graduate Degree Commencement Exercises at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business are now officially closed.